When I'm away from home, this book here has been my go-to for prepping and preparedness information. It's comprehensive, it's compact, and it's worked out great, but now there's an even more compact version of this. And that's really important. And the reason is because while it's great to have information somewhere back at your house in some book somewhere, if you're not carrying it with you when you need it, it's not going to do you any good. And that's why the fact that there's an even more compact, easier to travel with version of this is something I want to share with you guys. Here at my place, I have a pretty extensive library, and a lot of the books in that library, not surprising, are prepping and preparedness related. But when I'm out on the road, I'm not bringing my entire prepping library with me, nor should I be. I don't need to know 200 different ways of tying a knot, and I don't need to know 1,000 different ways of how to whittle a stick, and I certainly don't need to know, I don't know, the history of ham radio communication when I'm out on the road. Usually, if I'm out somewhere and I need prepping or preparedness information, it's usually just a detail. Like I might want to purify water using bleach, and I have a gallon of water and I forget, is it a teaspoon of bleach that I'm supposed to put in there? Is it a tablespoon of bleach? Is it 50-50? Spoiler alert, I remember that much, it's not 50-50. What type of bleach is it? Because there's different mixes of bleach. It's all those kinds of detail types of bits of information that I tend to forget. And for that reason, and because I wanted to have this information on my person when I'm out and about and I'm on the road, I made this book. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this book before if you've been watching my channel. I made this for myself. I call it the Prepper's Cheat Book, and it's full of all that kind of information. It's not going to have 10 pages about why you should be a prepper. It's not going to have 20 pages about how to light a match. It's just the details that you tend to forget. I made this book for myself, and I've been sharing it with you guys for a while. And I made it specifically so that it would be something that you could travel with. It's 7 inches by 10 inches by about 1/2 inch thick, and it fits right down inside of a backpack. But almost as soon as I made this for myself, and I started traveling around with it, and it does fit in a backpack fine, but I'm always trying to think about ways of improving things, and I was thinking to myself, I think I could make that smaller. And I did. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. I've made a smaller version of this book here. And in addition to just letting you guys know that there's a smaller version available, I want to talk really about what's in this book. Because if I am anything, it is not a salesperson. I love creating things like this. I'm really proud of how these came out. I'm using these multiple times a week myself. And I know a lot of you guys, I've heard from you that you have found this book very useful as well. But I've never really shared with people exactly what's in these books. And that's what I want to do in this video. I'm not going to talk any more about this version because this one it's a little bit more relaxed layout. So we're going to be going through this one, but just know that these are essentially the exact same thing. The only thing that is not in this book that is in the larger version is there's a section in here on health and fitness and exercise, which I omitted from this book because I figured as a true travel edition, if you're really away from home and you're probably trying to get back to your house and your family, you're going to be getting your steps in, and you don't need a section on fitness and exercise in the small version of the book. But other than that, they're completely identical. So we're going to be talking about what exactly is in this book so you get a sense of the types of topics that are in here and know whether you might want to have a copy for yourself. Because if you do want a copy for yourself, the way that I created these, I buy my copies the same way that you guys buy yours. This is a print-on-demand service, so you make an order, they print it for you, and they ship it out. So it's not the kind of thing where you order it and then 48 hours later it shows up at your house. I've bought, I don't know, like 6 of these. Some of them I've given away. I've gotten all throughout my house. One's in my backpack, one's in my kitchen. I've got one in my fallout shelter. So I've bought it several times, and on average, it's about 3 weeks between the time that I place the order and the time that I actually get it. So I know with the holiday season coming up, this might be something that you might want to get for different people in your life. So it's important to know that if you place an order, it's almost a month. 3 weeks is almost a month between the time you place the order and the time that it actually gets received. So that's why I'm doing this video now. So if anyone has any interest in this, you could possibly get it ahead of the holiday season. So without any more blah, blah, blahing from me, let's go into the book and find out what's actually in here. Once I decided that I wanted to share this book with other people, it was really important to me that it be attractive and easy to navigate. So there are a lot of visuals in here, there are a lot of tables, a lot of charts, and the entire book is in full color. That was really important to me because there's so many books out there that are essentially glorified PowerPoint presentations or just somebody's Word file that they laid into a book. I spent a lot of time making sure that this is attractive, easy to navigate, and easy to understand. The book is divided up into 15 different sections, and each section is color-coded. I have a color-coded index bookmarks up along the edge here, so it's really easy to find what you're looking for. Once you jump into it, the first section in here is water. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of the sections in this book and just mention a tiny little bit of examples of what you're going to find in that section. I don't want to go too crazy deep into it, but just to give you kind of a taste of it. So in the water section, it's essentially how to procure and how to purify water. I've got a lot of tables that describe things like how much bleach you need to put into, say, a gallon of water, or iodine solution, or pool shock, or any different number of other ways of purifying water. And I break down some different ways of doing it and some of the pros and cons of each of those. Jumping to the next section, which is wild plant identification. I've got a fairly good section in this book on that. It doesn't really get into the weeds, pun intended, of all sorts of different plants, but it's got a lot of the most common plants that you're going to find in North America. I made sure I had lots of pictures of each of the plants. That's one thing that I hate about some plant identification books, is that they'll have a plant and they'll have like a lousy black and white image or only one image, and plants go through different stages in their growth, and I think it's important to kind of just see them from different angles. So I tried to get lots of different images representing different aspects of the plant. Jumping to the next section, which is the home garden. In the home garden section, I've got 12 of the most commonly and easily planted and grown plants here in North America. I also have a seed saving section, which follows the gardening section, and in there it's all information about how to store and save your seeds. Seeds are viable for different amounts of time. Some seeds, like a artichoke, the seeds are viable for about 7 years, but then you've got other things like carrot seeds tend to only be viable for 3 years. Jumping into the next section, which is a working pantry, I have information on foods that store really well in a pantry, and I have a whole section, and I use this one myself all the time, about canning, both hot water bath and pressure canning, and I really break it down and just stick to the facts in terms of what you're going to be canning, whether it's nectarines or tomato sauce or beef or chicken broth or figs or some type of fish. I even have information on canning snakes in here. I think I might have frogs in here as well. Next section that I have in here is about the kitchen, and this is another section I use all the time. It's just tables essentially of different things that you can bake. And it's not recipes. It's not going to tell you how much salt to put in or how much time to put in. It's just what you need to do to bake something to make it safe so that it's not going to kill you and your family. Whether it's bass or beef or catfish or mackerel or flatfish or crab or oysters or parsnips or carrots or artichokes or anything, it tells you what the temperature should be and for how long you should be doing it, and it describes different styles. Whether you're cooking bass as a 1-inch fillet or if you're cooking the whole fish, it's different information on that. And I've just filled it up with all different types of foods. Jumping into the next section, it is campcraft skills. This is a lot of knot tying, and this is one of the places where I think it's really important that this book is in full color. Everything in this book is in color, and while sometimes it might feel that having a book in full color is just an unnecessary luxury, in a lot of areas in this book I think it's really helpful. For example, with the sheep bend knot, you can see very easily which piece of cordage is which as you're tying these two ends together. If this was all just black and white, it'd be a little bit difficult to follow which piece of cordage wrapped around here actually goes to which end. And this is one of those places where I think it is really helpful to have the book in color. In terms of knots, I don't go crazy into a million different knots. I've just got maybe about a dozen and change knots, and it's very task centric. I have information about joining the two ends of rope and a couple knots for that, creating a loop in a line, a few knots for that. Jumping forward past the campcraft section, I've got a section on orienteering. This section has information on declination in here and navigation, whether you're using an analog clock or a shadow, or if you want to be navigating around at night, has information on that. There's all sorts of little cues that you can get from your environment, whether natural cues or man-made cues in terms of infrastructure, satellite dishes, for example. Next section I have here is communications and networking. This is primarily about radio communication. I've got information on the radio spectrum. Here, a lot of notes on different emergency radio frequencies, and this is dealing with all different parts of the spectrum: FM, AM, FRS, CB radio, shortwave radio communication. It's all here. There's tips on how to increase your radio's range and reception, information on how to build items that will help with that. Here's a whole rundown about how to make a dipole antenna. I've made a couple of these myself just out of coaxial wire. Moving through here, I've got information on shortwave radio. I've got lots of frequencies from all over the planet that you can use to pick up shortwave all over the place. We've got phonetic and Morse code information if you can't memorize that, and I know I have trouble with that. Also ground-to-air emergency signals that are visual. These are symbols that you can put on the ground if you were lost out somewhere, people were looking for you. These are symbols that you could put to communicate things to them. This is one of my favorite ones right here, number 4. If you make this mark in the snow or in the ground, it's you signaling that you need a firearm or more ammunition. Moving on to the next area in the communications section, I've got something that I think is really glossed over in a lot of survival manuals, and this is speaking in different languages. I've got information on the top several languages in the world: Spanish, French, German, Italian, Portuguese, Russian, Mandarin, Arabic, and Hindi. And the book presumes that you're speaking English because the whole thing's written in English. And I have information here for basic communication. Moving on, I've got a section on health and fitness. This is the only section that I've curtailed in the smaller version of the book. I didn't think people needed a bunch of exercises if they are going to be out on the road. You know, they're, like I mentioned earlier, they're going to be getting their steps in, probably trying to head for home anyway. So I skipped over all this, but I have this in this book. Basic exercises that give you a essential level of fitness, and I think fitness is another one of those things that gets glossed over in prepping and preparedness. It's super important to be fit, and this is the kind of stuff you really need to be doing ahead of time, ahead of an emergency. So that is omitted from the small version of the book, but the small version of the book has all the rest of this stuff about like creating your own antiseptic wound cleaning solution with basic ingredients, medication shelf life extension study data. The U.S. federal government and organizations all over the world have studied medications because while a medication may say that it expires after a year, many of them do not. Many of them are good well past the expiration date. Some are not. Some actually become toxic after that year window, and you should not take them. And this table is here so that it's really easy to jump in and just see which one is which. This is one of the original reasons I started making this book for myself, because while this information is all out there, it's all freely available online, it's here, it's there, it's everywhere, it's in this format, it's in that format. I took all of the stuff, distilled it down, put it in a standard, consistent format, so I could see that acetaminophen, there is a California PCS study that suggests that 28 plus years that stuff is still good for, while other things like, this medication that I can't pronounce here is only good for 2 to 3 years, or amoxicillin sodium is probably only good for like maybe 1 to 2 years, or another study suggested that it was good for about 2 years. And that brings us to the measuring radiation section. This is all about different radiation measurements during a radiological emergency. Here's another example of why I think it's important that this book has color in it. It's really easy to see the green areas, the yellow areas, and these more orange areas go from safe to, have some caution about it, to these levels are pretty dangerous. And I have information on measuring radiation in a variety of different formats. So depending on how you are getting your information, you're going to have a way of interpreting that. I also have information on how to create a shelter in terms of things that block radiation, whether it's wood, water, books or newspaper, drywall, dry sand, wet sand, packed dirt, human bodies or animal bodies. It's all here in terms of how many inches of this stuff you need in order to cut the radiation by half. Next section in here is about creating a underground shelter at the last minute. I think it always makes sense to do these things ahead of time, but if you were in a pinch, I included some information that was created by Oak Ridge National Laboratories, and it was reprinted in Crescent Kearney's excellent book, Nuclear War Survival Skills. And this is all their information reprinted in here. Because of the way they do their copyright, it's 100% fine that I included this information in here. They want this information to get out, and I haven't changed any of the information at all except for one thing that I think is really important. If you've ever look through those manuals, you know that they have all these illustrations in those manuals and all this information in there, and it's great, but the one thing that this book has that the originals don't is color. And I think it makes a huge difference. If you've ever looked at these diagrams in black and white in the originals, they're really hard to determine what you're actually looking at. You really got to stare at them, and you're kind of figuring, okay, well, what's this and what's that? And what's this other layer and what's this shade over here? I went through all that. I color-coded everything and just made it a very easy picture so you can understand what you're looking at. Now, maybe that's kind of a small change, and in a pinch, I'm sure you could interpret the black and whites, but I think it makes it a lot easier to see what you're looking at here now that they've all been colorized. And the next section after this is about if you do get exposed to radiation, what are some material substances and medications that you can take to try to flush that radioactive material out of your body. I've got a table here with all information that, again, is all freely available online. This is all from official websites, but in a pinch, those websites may not be available. And this is also gleaned from multiple different websites. So instead of having to jump all over the web and do multiple searches, eating up hours, minutes, and seconds that you may not have, it's all here in a table, ready to go. At the very end of the book, I have a mathematical appendix, just in terms of converting different things to different units of measurement, whether it's in information for the kitchen or temperature or distance. The last section of the book, it's kind of a thought experiment, which I did a while ago, but I thought it'd be nice to include it. This is a chapter, if you have not prepared at all, and you somehow know that we only have 2 days until total collapse, it is an hour-by-hour task list of what you should be doing during those last 2 days. And again, it's more of an intellectual experiment to demonstrate that you don't want to wait until the last 2 days in order to take action, because there is just so much to do. But I thought it was interesting, and if there was ever a situation where there were only 2 days left to collapse, maybe you want to give a run through this and just kind of cross all your T's and dot all your I's and just make sure, okay, let's just see if I do have everything that I may need. And at the very end, I've got one page dedicated to just writing down your own personal information, house insurance, car insurance, health insurance, bank account numbers, credit card numbers, hospitals that are in your area, police department, fire department numbers, and also information on local or regional hotels. If you need to evacuate your area, it might be nice if you're already on the road that you already have the address of a hotel that you know that you could go to and their phone number so you can call ahead of time. And this is the kind of thing that is personalized to every person, so you could fill this in yourself. And the very last page, actually, I had a couple extra pages in the book. Whenever you make a book, the pages have to be multiples of 4 based on the way they get bound. I had a few extra pages, so I put a little advertisement here for a bug-out card game, which is another creation that I made several years ago. It's a family card game intended to teach prepping and preparedness to all the members of your family, but it's especially kind of aimed toward kids. And now all of this stuff is available on my little mini website, to which I have a link down in the description below this video. Okay, so I hope that gives you a good sense of what's in these books. Again, I find these very useful. I'm using them multiple times a week myself. Again, getting back to why this book was even created, I created it for myself because I saw that there was a need. I wanted prepping and preparedness information on my person while I travel, while I'm out and about, but you're not going to carry your entire library. And what are you going to just take your book on knots, or just take your book on ham radio, or just take your book on this or that? In fact, I was out on a camping trip and I had a book that I thought was eclectic like this, that had a broad variety of information. But when I actually went into that book and was reading it on my camping trip, I realized it was so much wasted pages on, just talking about why it's important to prepare and, the importance of what you should pack, in your bug out bag and things like that. All the types of information that aren't really helpful to you when you're actually in the situation. So I made this book specifically because I wanted to have a copy of a book like this for myself, and I know a lot of you guys have appreciated it as well. That's it. I hope you found this video helpful. Links are down in the description below, and thanks for watching. Hey YouTube preppers, if you enjoyed this video, here's another that I think you might like. But before you click on it, I wanted to take a moment to thank all the people you see on the right-hand side of your screen. They help to support all the work that I do here over at patreon.com. If you'd like to join them and get your name added to the list, the link's below.